So today, I promise we will do articles. So the first thing that we want to do is create a new file in state called articles.ts. And of course we need to add state as well as actions. Also open up the index file of state and be sure to add articles to your config. Now let's add some stuff. Since tags only has one request that we need to take care of, I think it'd be safe to just add tags into the article state object. And then we're going to create an action to load all the tags. And we'll do a simple HTTP request using effects.getTags and then populating the tags. And then it would be a good idea to store the errors in case if there is any errors. Let's now start on loading all the articles. And I added a loading property so that we could keep track of the state of whether or not we're loading the articles. Originally I was going to pre-optimize how we're loading the articles and create a hash map like we did with profiles, but I think it's a little too soon, and at this point it's just going to be a little over-engineering. So instead we're just going to create a articles property that's going to be a array of article response, and of course initially it'll be an empty state. Let's also import article response, and now we can start on creating the action for loading all the articles. This is going to be an async action from Overmind, and getting articles does take in a property or a value of number because that'll be the page number. Let's grab the state and effects from our Overmind configuration as well as the value. And then let's add the try catch block, which is basically the boilerplate for all of these actions now. And we're going to make a request to get all articles, and then all the articles that we grab from the request we're going to put inside of articles.articles. This is a little confusing, so I'm just going to rename it as list. And of course it's a good idea to set and reset loading so that we know what to do with it in the UI. And don't forget to add load articles to your actions. Oh, we're not doing anything with value. Let's actually just add that in here right now. And I think that's good enough to start working on the UI. We're going to create the homepage right now. So that's going to be touch source home.tsx. And I know what you're thinking. It's like the 6th video and we're finally doing the homepage, but that's just how it is. We needed the articles really badly for all the other pages. But now we can finally get rid of temp, add home here, and remove this temporary component. And to fix this red squiggly on home, we need to make sure to add the correct props to home. Now let's add the markup that's given to us by Conduit. Okay, so this is the basic skeleton that we're going to do. I put in a little placeholder here for articles and pills because we're going to populate that in a little bit. But I think it'd be a good idea to break this up into multiple components so that this JSX doesn't get too crowded. And we can take a look at what we have so far, and it looks like this. And I think we can do the pills first since that should be pretty simple. So I'm just going to grab all the state in the root homepage and then pass it in to the subsequent components afterwards. So from articles, it's going to be all of the tags, and then the actions, we're going to do load tags. And then I'm going to use the useMount lifecycle hook so that we can load the tags if the tags aren't already loaded. Now we can start on the tags in that pill sidebar thing. So I'm going to make a new component for that, so it's going to be touch tags.tsx, and then we're going to open that up, get rid of this. And tags is going to be a function component with the props of tags, which is an array of strings. And the markup for this is just going to be a sidebar, and inside of tag list, that's where we're going to create a list of links. So we're going to need link from reach router. And we're going to map through all the tags to create a link for each one. And each link is going to have the class name of tag pill, tag default, which will have the appropriate styles based on the tag list. And then the final property is going to be to, which we're going to send the user to slash, but with the query parameter of tag, and then we're just going to give them the current tag, the one that they clicked on. And then we'll add tags, providing tag. And I also have to change the condition here to check that the length of tags is greater than 1. And that's because the property of tags is always going to be true, so it's kind of useless to use that as the condition. Now we can create an article list component. And then for each article list item, I'm going to make a separate called article preview.tsx. And then make sure you populate both files with just the normal React stuff. And this is the markup for article preview that's given to us. I added stubs, or just like interpolation stubs. And to fill in these stubs, we're going to have to define a type for this React component. But we know that what's coming into the article preview is going to be the actual article itself. So we can just inherit the entire article response and set that to props. And article response is right here, so we could start using these. I think all we need is the title, description, and author. The title and description is going to go down here. We're also going to need the slug, so let's go get that. We haven't defined this route yet, but it's going to link to us to article/slug. We're going to need the favorites count, which goes here. Created comes from the base entity, so I had to add that to part of our extension right here. And then finally we could destructure author here and get some of these properties. We don't need, actually I think we might need all of them. Okay, like we only need username and image. Then that's where we're going to populate the links for both the image here and the username. And now we can get rid of this. So now let's jump into article list. And this is where we're going to import the article preview that we just created. So article list is going to have its own props. And for the list, I know I want to get loading. I also want the list of all articles, which is an article response. Yeah, I think that's good for now. So let's destructure both of those properties. So loading, articles, and very simply, if it's loading, I'm just going to return a fragment that says loading. I have to update this to an array. And if it's an empty array, we're going to also return a fragment. This time it says no articles are here yet. And then finally, what we want to do is take the entire list, map over it, and create a list of all article previews. And we're going to spread the article inside of it as the props. We're also going to have the key equal to the slug, because I think that's fine, right? And this is mad at us because, screw it. I'm going to just put this inside of a fragment as well. Alright, cool. Let's go back to the home page and add it to this comment. So this article list is going to need some things from Overmind, so it's all going to come from the article's state property. So we're going to get, I remember calling it list, and we also want loading. Loading equals to loading, that's pretty straightforward. And then articles is going to be set to list. And now we can check that in here. So no articles are here yet. I think, oh, that's because we haven't called the action to call it, to get them. But then also these tags, they have been called. They're populated, but if we click on them, we get the query tag, but nothing else shows up. And that's because we need to actually take into account the query tag and re-render this page. Okay, let's go fix some of that. So also inside this use mount, I'm going to create another if to call load articles whenever the length of article list is 0. And I'm going to load page 0, which I think is a viable number. And let's go check that out. So here are the article previews. They look pretty much correct. Some of these links are not going to work. Yeah, I don't know. We'll get to that. But you'll notice that there's some broken images, and that is because if you click on these, some people have basically sent in an invalid link type. I'm not going to fix that, to be completely honest. I'm too lazy to do that. Fine, I'll fix it. So what we actually need to do is create a regex file in utilities. And the regex for images is going to be this. It's basically going to check if the extension is going to be a valid image MIME type. This actually should be JPEG or JPEG. And then we're going to export a function that will just check the string and make sure that it's true. So we're just gonna do regex.test. We're gonna wrap this image with some conditions in front of it. So first we're gonna make sure that the image exists, and then we're gonna check that the image is a valid image, and then we'll create the image tag after that. So we'll save and go back, and everything that doesn't have a valid image is just not gonna appear. So the last thing I want to do is actually make the tags useful and meaningful. So to do that, we're gonna go back to our state actions, and we're gonna create another function for loading all the articles by tags, which is gonna be a copy of load articles, except instead we're gonna be using the function get articles by tag, which has to take in the tag as well as the page number. So I'm gonna update the value type here, destructure those values, and then pass them into get articles by tag. And then of course we need to add it to the actions object. Reach router doesn't make it easy for us to use the query parameters. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna install another package called, what was it called? Use query params. Okay, now that's installed. We're gonna have to open up our apps file. Inside of this file, we're gonna have to add another provider to another React context that's given to us by use query params, and it is called query param provider, because we're just gonna add it right here. Okay, that was the wrong thing. What we want to provide to the query param provider is in a prop called reach history, and we want to get it the global history, and that comes from reach router itself. And I think that's all we need to do. And then this allows us to use the query param hook inside of any of our components. Wow, that's not good. I think we could just do that. Let's try that again. Alright, cool. Everything's good. I'm smart. Alright, let's go back home. And now we could use the query params, which is going to be... So the query param acts like a use state hook. So it will return a tuple with the value and a setter. And it is called use query param. And we need to give it the name of the query param, which for us we know is tag. And we also need to give it the type, which is a string param. And I'm also going to put this up here. And let's go with a value that we haven't used yet. So tag, set tag. Alright, so I want to move the loading of articles onto a use effect instead of a use mount. Because if you think about it, we could still be on the same page, the same component, and it doesn't re-render, or it doesn't mount, but it'll re-render. So I moved load articles into a use effect, and let's make this into a one-liner so that it's easier to read. All right, that's better. All right, so this use effect, we want to call it every time tag changes, and yeah, I think that'll be good for now. So we're gonna make a if-else statement here. So if there's a tag, we're gonna load the articles by tags, and that takes in an object where tag is tag, and I'm not gonna worry about pagination right now, so that'll be fine. Let's see if that works. So let's go to the tag of butt. So that's good. Let's try a different tag. Cars, and happiness, and sushi. Alright, so that works. So I don't think we need set tags, so I'm just gonna delete this. I think I'm gonna call it a day. I think that's good for this video. We did the basics of articles. We did most of the homepage. There's still a little bit left to do. But the next thing I want to do is going to be optimizing how we're storing all the articles. Because as you see here, it's a little naive that we're going to be loading all of the articles every single time. And it would be a good idea to store it in our store have like a pseudo cache. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna try to do in the next video, and I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I'll see you guys.